Well, good evening, everyone. We have a pretty light crowd tonight, which I'm surprised there's even this many with all the back-to-school nights going on. Thanks for being here. I'm Steve Siebert, the board chair. Welcome to the August 15th regular business meeting of the Harrison District 2 Board of Education. Madam Secretary, if you would call the roll, please.
Jeannie Orozco, present. Kelly Pumice.
Present.
Linda Pugh.
Present.
Steve Siebert.
Here.
Keith Barney.
Present.
Julie Loesch.
Here.
Anna Soto.
Here.
We're all here.
Okay, has everyone had a chance to review this evening's agenda?
Yes.
Well, yes, actually. See, there's no kids here staring at me. Do I get to do the pledge now?
All the teachers.
So before we adopt the agenda, Anna said she...
No, I was doing.
Oh, she's like, no. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now we can jump to the agenda. Since everyone has had a chance to review it, are there any additions, corrections? Then I would entertain a motion to accept this evening's agenda.
So moved.
Second. Been moved by Mrs. Pumice, seconded by Mr. Pugh. All in favor? Mr. Pugh. I looked up and saw Mr. Barney. Wow, am I out of practice at this or what? It's summertime, we should still be.
We're supposed to come back better.
Yeah. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. We have a meeting, whether we like it or not.
Before you go too far.
If there's, oh, go ahead. If there's any members of the public who would like to address the board on board work this evening, there's a sign up, a roster at the left side of the room as you face. If you would sign up before 6:30, you get an opportunity to address the board.
That's what I was going to say.
Okay. Item 3.1, report from our student board members. Good evening. Ms. Loesch and Ms. Soto.
Okay, good evening everyone. Oh my god, okay. So since school just started, there's really not that much to report, but we have a new, I guess, policy to help students with their attendance, and I think it's really helpful for students, and it's pushing them to actually go to class because they have to face more consequences. And I haven't seen too many students in the halls during class, so I think it's a big improvement because last year there were a lot of kids ditching. So now that we have to face a lot of consequences after missing class for a certain amount of time or having unexcused absences, I think it's really useful. And it's a good way to push students to show up to class. And I was there for freshman orientation, and I just wanted to say I think the freshmen are really hyped about high school, and I think the Link Crew leaders really helped push them to be more excited. And during one of the meetings for Link Crew, we focused on 10 different, I guess, tips for freshmen, and I think during orientation that was really helpful for them for high school. So that's all I have really.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. For Sierra, we got a new mission statement, which is earn it every day. We also have 3 rules that apply, which is do not disrespect staff, no bullying, and do not disturb the learning environment. Sierra made a variety of procedures and consequences for the 2019-2020 school year. but it's based off of levels like level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. Level 1 is pretty like the basic, like classroom misconduct. Level 2 is physical mistreatment. Level 3, inappropriate language. And level 4, the sale of drugs or etc. There's consequences for each one. But as I was talking to students, when I asked students in what ways do you like and dislike the learning environment and student discipline here at Sierra, they answered, Sierra's rules have become more strict, agreeing with rules and consequences, but wanting to make a change such as finding different consequences for each level. 1 and 2, to avoid students being taken out of class. For the learning environment, the only thing concerning students is the safety and security. Because if you don't feel safe, you don't come to school, and when you don't come to school, you're just missing more class. When you don't come to school, your academic performance is compromised since you are now behind. And then Sierra is providing different types of programming. We got Night School, Love and Logic training. They expanded AVID. And for the first time in school history, we will be having our home football games. And that's all I have.
Well, I know a lot of people are really excited about Sierra's first home game.
Super excited.
Friday the 30th, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Well, thank you, ladies. We appreciate jumping back in. I know school's just started, so we look forward to a lot more exciting updates. Does anybody have questions for the?
Actually, I just have a comment. We talked before in the past, and one of the primary concerns that we've heard from you guys is relationships with students, between staff and students, and that it's not just a one-way relationship. I was in here last month. All the administrators from all the buildings were in here, and that was one of their primary concerns, was making sure that we're not just teaching to students, but developing a relationship that goes those ways. So you're being heard, and it's noticed. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else have questions or comments for the? No? Okay. Well, again, thank you guys very much. Item 4. Yeah, we'll skip that. We moved very quickly to that. We'll leave it for 6:30. Item 5, we have the superintendent consent agenda. We have the item 5.1, the July-August personnel report. So everyone had a chance to review that. Do we have questions anybody has? No, relatively straightforward and actually quite encouraging. Compared, I know one of the things that's always very telling is historical data. If you look at year to year to year, I know Ms. Pomas had asked of HR for a little bit more data on those, and it's very encouraging what we see here. So I wanted to add that. Item 5.2, we have the May financial statement. Is there any discussion or further questions around item 5.2? No? Okay, well then with that, item 5.3, I would entertain a motion to approve the superintendent consent agenda as stated.
So moved.
Second.
Take a deep breath. Moved by Mrs. Pugh, seconded by Mrs. Pomas. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Item 6, the board consent agenda. A little bit more meat in this one this evening. We have item 6.1, approval of minutes. Those have been reviewed. Any further questions or corrections? Item 6.2, the June 20th board meeting, approval of minutes. Item 6.3, we have OE6, the financial planning monitoring. Anything further? And I know that we're probably going to brush over these pretty quickly. For any of you who had attended any of the work sessions, there was some pretty lively discussion that entertained us well into the evening. on a couple of these, and there were a couple of carryovers because we hadn't come to where we needed to on some of them. So if it seems like we just brushed them over, it's really not the case. There's been some pretty deep discussion. Item 6.4, OE5, the learning environment. Is that one, any further discussion or questions?
I don't have any questions. I just, as we get into the remaining part of that item, all those indicators, I want to thank everyone who made adjustments, because we had a number of conversations about how the wording maybe needed to be tweaked, and it was done, and I appreciate it.
Yes, the work that goes into, I know Mr. Yates is smiling. A lot of this was his. He got both feet in. Nah, he's okay. I know Mr. Jarbo is here too as well. His first round with them was very complimentary. So we do understand and appreciate the amount of work that a quick question of ours adds to the staff. So I'd like to echo Ms. Pugh that we do appreciate that work that goes in. It's not just disregarded or flippant. So we appreciate that, guys. 6.5, OE8, asset protection. 6.6, comment, OE12, student discipline. Some of these had very little, and some of them had, coming up to item 6.7, a tremendous amount of change and development on some of those. So 6.7, any further comments or questions? No. Which is the technology. This is a brand new policy. It's the first new policy that the board's adopted in the better part of a decade as far as an entirely new policy. We've had a lot of revisions to some, but this was just completely developed from the ground up, and I think we'll have a very good focus, and it took a lot of work to get to where it is. Any other comments on any of the operational expectations? Well, with that, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second, I'll take turns. Second.
Sweet.
Moved by
Is
Mrs.
that a
Pope.
motion to approve or disapprove?
Approve.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I thought that's what you said.
I just said a motion.
No, I just said I would entertain a motion. So we have a motion to approve
Yes.
the
Thank you.
stated.
And I will second it.
Moved by
motion to approve.
Mrs. Pomas, seconded by Mrs. Roscoe. Any further discussion or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
I forgot the I. Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous.
No.
Item 7, monitoring board performance. Item 7.1, we have the annual work plan. At the speed we're moving through the agenda tonight, we can take a moment to open and review. It's been a very busy week with back to school nights. I know that we had several of us that signed up for them this evening, and there was probably 5 or 6 schools that had back to school nights this evening. And throughout the previous and the next week or two. Which I'm surprised, didn't you have back to school night tonight?
Yeah.
Did you wrap it up quick? Was it, everybody was anxious to get out of that you had to run over here
in good
and
hands.
see our smiling faces?
But I told you about them. I said that they were the absolute first one I went to.
Absolute first. Well, I had a meeting right during that time. I was going to actually try to make Stratmore Hills
I was too.
and this, so. The buildings certainly take priority over the board, so I appreciate the tight schedules. Are there any other wisdom sharing is coming up in October?
I would like to know how many people picked up packets. So far, 3. 3?
We have an election coming up. If any of you haven't noticed, there will be 2 open at-large board seats for election. Ms. Poma's seat and Mr. Varney's seats will be on this November's ballot if we have candidates for that. So with that, staff encouragement to prospective candidates would always be welcomed and encouraged.
Mr. Siebert, I know this isn't part of this really, but I think we'd be remiss if we didn't honor the hard work of opening the school year this year and how smooth it's gone, especially with our 4 bond schools that had to move in 3 or 4 days. And yet we opened school on time, everyone had a seat to sit in, and learning was happening from day one.
Around, I see smiles.
So they look
I don't know, I
exhausted, they
don't-
are.
I was gonna say, I don't know if Ms. Loffer would say it's as smooth as it seemed to have been, but it could have been worse. Could it have been?
No matter if we have power or.
Power or air, we're moving back here.
Well, and now that all the kinks have been worked out, the rest of the schools should hopefully have a smoother transition, right?
Figured out all the mistakes on you got to guinea pigs, so.
She was the first pancake.
Turned out pretty good. So with the talk about the election, we have a board candidate meeting would be on the 4th of September, correct?
Correct.
And do we already have in place what would be presented?
It would be very similar to previous years, depending on, we don't know yet if we have actually candidates or not to schedule. That's a tentative meeting. If there are,
What time will it be? What time?
is.
5:30 to 7 is what was put on the information in the board packet.
Oh,
Thank you, Norma.
I mean, the election packet, I'm sorry.
At the Solomon Center or here?
Here.
Thank you.
So, and the deadline for turning in signatures is
August 30th?
August 30th, okay.
Well, that's soon.
As I'm reading down, are there any other items of interest, anything that we need to highlight or change?
No.
Well, something that Dr. Berhensel and Mr. Rogerson had shared with me earlier today was the seemingly very good partnership with the contractors, taking time to stop work and help schools. So it sounds like a lot of those partnerships have been very positive, which we would expect from them, but it's not really required. But it's very upstanding of our contractors to take that time and help the schools move back in and clean trash and really be good partners with their projects, not just, that's not my job and this is not what I'm getting paid to do, so I'm not going to do it. So that's encouraging for years of bond projects that we have coming in the future. So that was encouraging. And it's nice to have something new. I think there's a lot of students that it was shared with me too that these are kids that may not have had anything new in their life. They might not have had a new pair of clothes because they always get hand-me-downs. They might live in a used apartment or move from apartment to apartment, and to walk into a brand new classroom and have a bunch of new furniture is philosophically the point of the bond. Absolutely. So I see new stuff every day. That's what I do, is build, and it becomes old hat. So to have that presented like this could be something new was I was very encouraged, very touched by to see the smiles on the students in their new building. So
While we're talking about the annual work plan review, Summerfest was awesome. Bunch of that, I don't know how many backpacks. Go ahead.
there was some news coverage of that
1,500.
too that was very encouraging.
It's around 1,500 backpacks were given out.
We've had a rash of very positive news our way too. I know that Mrs. O'Brien had shared a whole list of links to news articles and newspaper articles that really are, it's not very normal. Have been a graduate of Harrison and have been listening to the news the past, well, I won't tell you when I graduated. It's a long time ago, decades.
Really, really long time.
Long time ago. It's not necessarily always been positive. So to have a period in time that that's sort of different. It's kind of nice to hear.
I would like to say thank you to Christine. I know you've worked so hard, and we've talked about changing our narrative and telling our story our way instead of having someone tell it for us. And I really appreciate the hard work, because it's not as easy as it sounds. So thank you.
And I will add just to that, Christine, you constantly affirm the team that you have put together. And so while we are acknowledging you, I also want to acknowledge the rest of your team, because you've done an amazing job in leading them and doing them, just like really getting out there and really making sure that our narrative is shown in a way that people really need to know what the truth is. So thank you all.
Awesome.
Yes. And it's been years of positive relationship. It was shared with me again. Anytime the news calls me and I relate that to our staff, I get a very nervous text about what has happened. And
Who would that be from?
The encouragement is the positive relationship that Christine has built with a lot of the local reporters. There certainly is a different flavor to those questions. And when there is something negative and they're looking for something and they find it's not there, those stories just go away sometimes. So I think we're in a positive direction.
And one of the stories, and you talked about the backpacks, but one of the stories had to do with us also providing the supplies. You know, K through 8, exactly. My daughter said it was kind of weird. I'm like, I didn't have to go buy supplies. I almost forgot school was starting.
It was so weird.
That's the worst part of going back to school, buying tissue.
I think I still buy my teacher's tissues though, if that's okay, principals. Is that right? Okay.
Always need tissue, yeah, there's never.
And hand sanitizer, right?
Okay, any other discussion around the current affairs or the annual work plan? Anything of note? I know school just got back in and we're all just starting. There's probably inevitably going to be some bugs with some of the projects, and so if we bear with, I see a nod happening already, Kim smiling back there, yes. That's just gonna happen, so hopefully we'll have a relatively smooth transition into all of our projects, but we'll take those inevitable little bumps and hiccups on some of the new systems as they come. Well, it's close enough to 6:30 if you would grab the, I didn't see anybody go grab it and sign up, but
It's over there.
we'll look at the roster.
Oh, it's
see
not over there.
You did this one, right?
Yes.
Okay, make sure you have it right there. Excuse me.
We have no one signed up for public comment this evening. Item 7.2, legislative updates. I know just coming off of the summer is most of the laws have been passed last fall and are going into effect, and so the legislation has been pretty quiet. It's a lot of upheaval in politics, even within our state. Recalls and petitions going around and just all kinds of crazy stuff. The climate is not positive in government right now. And luckily Governor Polis is he's very school proactive and has been very beneficial. Most of the laws that have been passed have benefited us, and he has a school focus. So from this arena, I think that's a good place. But so I have no other legislative updates.
On a positive note, we have full day kindergarten in Colorado. And we've had it here because we knew how important it was, but the rest of the state's finally catching up. So, yeah, it's good, great to see.
Well, and the new graduation requirements were mentioned in the news this morning.
And I would just add that Mr. Rogerson and myself and Ms. O'Brien and Ms. Becker are scheduling meetings with our local legislators to get conversations started around our needs in Harrison. In our state, we're a very unique district in terms of demographics in our community, and so we need to make sure that our voice is always heard, and it's not just the Denver metro area or a certain demographic of school, but we want our voice at the table. So when bills are written, they can definitely understand what the impact for us would be. So we're excited to get those scheduled within the next month.
Good. Any other legislative updates? No? We'll move on to item 8, matters reserved for board action. Again, we have a lot of policy revisions. Some of them were no more than just a couple of words. Some of them were months, if not a year and a half in the making, and finally at the last retreat have come to some solidification. There may still be some tweaking that needs done, but we have item 8.1, GC2E, the student board representatives, which has been changing and melding absolutely for the positive. We've gone from just simple reports on prom to actually proactive surveys that have gone out by the students of other students, truly being representatives of their schools. Developed to the point that they receive academic credit for the positions that they hold and are held to a higher work standard. So I really, really like having seen that over the past 4 years. Anybody else have comments about?
I'll add.
Yeah.
This evening, thank you, Ms. Pugh, for meeting with both Ms. Loesch and Ms. Soto. I also want to add, too, that coming up in the coming months, we did talk about Ms. Loesch actually facilitating the agendas for our check-ins. And so now there will be an added layer of responsibility to really support how our board representatives are engaging with us. And making sure that they have some ownership over how they are supporting our own learning and understanding of what is going on in the schools. So excited about that.
Thank you, Ms. Bones. Item 8.2 is, do we want to, we should probably do individual policies. That way if there were some that were or were not. I would entertain a motion to approve item 8.1, policy change. Okay. I did see the revised.
And what we're talking about is that in meeting with the students just a short bit ago, they recognized that we were asking, we're moving to doing a January search for a student rep because as students are closer to graduation, they're not as available or in the schools between January and May. So we're looking at finding our replacement student rep earlier, and the wording had said involving staff in finding interested students. And it was pointed out by the student reps as we were talking that, well, what about the students actually being involved? So we just added the wording staff and students to help us, if they know somebody who ought to be a good, should be applying and be a good representative, to be sure to let that happen as well. So that little change was just made a short bit ago.
Okay. We have a motion on the table.
I move to approve GC2E as stated in the docs.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Pugh, seconded by Mr. Barney. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Item 8.2, we have OE 4.13. Is there any discussion around changes to? No? With that, I would entertain a motion to approve policy OE 4.13.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Pugh, seconded by Ms. Roscoe. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Item 8.3, BSR1, Board Superintendent Relation Policy. This was in follow-up to single unit control, just with our new leadership model reflecting that. So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve BSR1 changes.
So
It's been moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Poma, seconded by Mrs. Pugh. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 8.3 carries. Item 8.4, BSR 5. Again, this was just a very small language change around a new superintendent model. Is there any other discussion or questions about BSR 5? Then I would entertain a motion to approve the changes to BSR 5.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Barney, seconded by Ms. Orozco. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. And item 8.5, policy change, results policies. This is one that has been worked on for about a year and a half. Aspen, our consultants have worked with us and we've drug our feet and have driven it into the ground. We got to a place that we're probably almost there, so we want to adopt it with the thought that there'll probably still be maybe some little changes coming, or maybe even simplified. So, is there any discussion about
If I may.
the results? Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
Ms. Bonus may have the floor.
Thank you. I definitely would I want to read, I love the simplification of the policies. This is what drives the board, these three resulting policies, and therefore then we have our operational expectations that support in us holding the district accountable to those. And when I came on the board knows, I definitely didn't feel connected to these policies. And really thought from a perspective of our students. Granted, and I will acknowledge that I do not reflect the majority of the students who we serve. I am a white woman, middle class, and when Dr. Burhansel talks about us being a very unique district, I don't know that I can look at these policies and fully understand from the standpoint of us holding the district accountable that we're really reflecting and considering who our students are. I'm glad of the progress that we've made. I am proud that we are thinking and including cultural relevance to our policies and really considering the identities and backgrounds of our students. I do have to just share my thinking through one that gives me pause, and we still, to Mr. Siebert's point, will adopt these tonight knowing that this is an ever-evolving document. But we have a results policy that is results 3, and it says contributing to the common good. And 3.2 states exercise the freedoms, rights, and responsibilities of being a citizen of the United States. And I'm shaking because I'm very emotional about this, but given the circumstances of what has happened in our community over the last week, as well as in our nation, I have to, as a board member, as a citizen, as a community member, recognize that not everybody has the same rights and freedoms and responsibilities, and or are not awarded those same rights, freedoms, and responsibilities. And so as we adopt this, I want us to be accountable to the identities and the considerations of the systems that don't always allow for everyone to have these same rights, responsibilities, and freedoms. And I see this holding back tears because I know I am privileged and have been granted privilege due to my identity to those rights and responsibilities. And I sit on this board and on this dais and in this community knowing that given this privilege, I have to exercise it in whatever ways I can. And so as we evolve this policy, I just want you all to hear that from me and my standpoint and what I commit to doing for this district in regards to our students and everyone sitting here serving them. Hopefully I made sense, but I just have to share that with you all, wanting you all to hear what this policy means, what it could mean, and how we need to be thinking about these policies for our students.
Thank you, Kelly. Well, it is a very emotional subject, and we are a policy-driven board. We don't make decisions. We write policy, and we monitor them to make sure that they meet our expectations. And so if we've missed it on a policy, we've missed it as as a whole. That's what drives our mission, drives everything we do every day. So we just want to make sure that we have it right.
Can I add one more thing? Sorry, but as we do hold these policies to the level of accountability, I've said this probably to the board, maybe to many of you, we are an education system, but I also know that a diploma is not a bulletproof vest. And I'm sorry that I'm getting on a soapbox for a second, but I have to say that. And so what we are offering our students has to be so much more than what education used to be. And I always say to this, our students shouldn't be schooled, they should be educated. And education is comprehensive, it is academic. I'm so proud of this board to have policies that do consider the developmental needs of our students, do consider the citizenship needs, but we as a school district have to be accountable to ensuring that our students have all the means necessary to be successful, not just post-graduation, but in life. Okay.
And I would like to say now, you've been to a work session.
Yes.
That's what all of our work sessions look like, and we're all very passionate when we're up here. And I know you guys don't come to work sessions, but you really should.
Some of them do. Some of them do.
If I can tag on to some of that, thank you. First of all, it's much more eloquent than anything I could have ever dreamed of saying. We're struggling with that. I mean, it's pulling out of us what our ideals and our morals are and making them policy. And that's where we're working right now, and that's what we're trying to work towards, is getting those ideas into places of policy that make sense for us. Thank you.
Now you know, I said we struggled for this for about a year and a half. It's been difficult to get to that point, to boil it down to what, it's important. We've taken it seriously, and it's taken a long time and a lot more discussions, many Saturday work sessions of hours and hours and hours to get to this point. We're still maybe not quite there, but thank you. Okay, with that, we have a vote. Item 8.5, I would entertain a motion to approve the policy changes, at least to this point, of our results policies, inclusively.
So moved.
It's been moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Pugh, seconded by Mr. Varney. Any further discussion? I'm looking at him. I saw you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We've gone through at record pace. I just want to make sure that we've got anyone who wished to address the board that signed up. Did anyone miss signing up on the roster to? It's typically at 6:30. We pulled it at about 6:28. So if you would like to approach the dais, you can. I would allow you to, if you would sign.
Oh, absolutely.
Typically, we have a sign-up sheet on the side of the room.
Okay. I even had Norman move the agenda because I didn't think the times were sufficient, and now here we are. I never get those.
We
times.
It's okay.
It's never okay.
I don't think anybody's upset that we moved through the agenda. And so we did. The sun is still shining.
Now we go home and do homework.
So with that, we would allow anyone who wishes to address the public at this time. Members of the public who desire to address the board on any topic related to board work are welcome to do so at this time. Speakers are requested to limit their remarks to not more than 3 minutes, to appoint a spokesperson if the concern is a group concern, and supplement verbal presentations with written reports or video if necessary or desired. Personal attacks will not be allowed. Although the board does not respond to any public comment, we will review the information presented and provide responses as needed. So this evening, and forgive me for not being able to read this, we have
My name is Melissa Getz. I'm coming on
Melissa
concerns
Getz this
about
evening.
House Bill 1032.
good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for
How are
being here.
Good. So I'm not coming to attack you. I'm coming to be a voice for our community, for our children. And my dire concerns about House Bill 1032. I've been calling the school since we got started this year. I was concerned last year about what I was hearing in the nation. And I called and I thought I heard from Mr. Rogerson that they're not going to be promoting these inappropriate sexual education classes. So I wanted to hear from you, Mr. Siebert, and the other members that want to speak on your behalf, what is going to be being taught. And I know we won a lot by not having to have this to all of our children as parents have a voice, so we can act out. But what for the children that don't have a voice, that have a parent that's as bold as myself to come out and speak to you or to these school members? What are we going to do about that? What are they going to be teaching as far as House Bill 191032, sir, in our district? And I've been in this district for 20-something years, so this is my third child here.
Well, to honestly answer you, I don't know. As a policy board, we vote on policy, and that's delegated to the superintendents. So to answer your question, which we don't respond to, is simply that I don't have a response. I'd have to investigate that, and a response will be provided to you.
Okay, well, I
know it sounds like a non-response, but to not engage in a quid pro quo with information that I don't have, we just allow you to share that with us.
I would like to hope that you did know more, honestly, but I do know. And I know what they have in the verbiage and what they say that they want to teach. And I believe I heard from Esther, one of the secretaries, that you said, Mr. Robertson, they absolutely would not be teaching these curriculums that's by law. So as a parent and a concerned community member, I want to come forth and say, I want to know what you are going to, because I want to be the voice of our community. That's the heart of our community. We want purity. We want them to rise up and be healthy, productive citizens of our nation, all of our students. So, and this bill does not say that. So that's why I'm coming forward.
Are these good contact information for you, so that if
Yes,
you have,
I can give you my
if you
phone
would
number. That's just
if you would
the
give us a
address.
good contact for
Yes.
you, so that you could get a
Yes.
response?
Yes.
Yeah, you could just add it to, if you would just add it there.
Do you have an email?
I do have an email already right here.
You can use the whole page, it's okay, no one else is on it.
I just want to make sure that we have a good contact to be able to
And this is
reach back out to you.
All right, so it's kind of nice.
Okay, I think, yeah, I just wanted to be able to say, if we're going to respond to you, that we actually have a good contact information so that we can have a response to you.
But you do, and you are aware that that has been implemented in our society. You're not there.
I'm very aware of a lot that's come from the Capitol, and this is not the forum for me to speak personally to
Sure.
most of what.
Well, I don't think it's personal, Mr. Siebert, as you're being a voice for our community, for our children. You know, we need to know what's out there and what's trying to get to them. So us in authority, us who's walking above them, have a voice over them saying this is allowed and this is not allowed. And definitely unclean spirits and stuff like that is not allowed upon our schools, our curriculums, our children. And we hope for it to not be in our homes.
Thank you for sharing that with us this evening.
Thank you.
Someone will respond to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, back to the agenda. We have item 9, scheduled for 8:25. So again, we're a little bit ahead of schedule.
What happens when we come prepared? And our
Unprepared.
work sessions are extra long.
Well, and the best part, we had no kids here today, which is the best part. It's not the best part that they're not here. The best part is when they are here, but we didn't have that tonight. So just to be very clear. Yes. The school reports, I just don't want to be misunderstood. That is the best part, having the school presentation, so a very short agenda. Is there any other business on the table this evening? With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Wow, nobody jumped on, like, that's the first.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Varney, seconded by Mrs. Pomas. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned. Thank you all for being here this evening.